Fudge is used by all of us women when they are on their period. You should have an opportunity of being on my couch. I want to know the story behind why entrepreneurship, where you come from.
Of course, because I was shy and quiet, I was bullied in like this gender difference, and you're like, but why? We got married, I think 2 years down the line. Something changed. Everyone is an introvert and extrovert.
How does it change your life, mentally and physically?
When I started for the first time in 2014, colony ki aunties were like, "Hi Bitchaari, she's starting alone, unmarried hai." It quickly went on to becoming badi tez hai, bitch type ki, about something they had no idea about. And I realized then that this is the life of an ambitious woman, living in the spectrum of bitch to Bitchaari, our opinionated, ambitious Bharatiya Nari.
Hi guys, welcome to the 4th episode of the Bitchaari Podcast. I have Poornima with me today. She's a friend, we play football together. She's the founder of Third Roast. Something that she is known for is that her fudge is used by all of us women when they are on their period. No, it's true story. We are addicted. Thank you so much for coming today and, being a part of this and actually letting us use your space. This is Poornima's space, by the way. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great actually now because, I had quite a morning, but worked out, so feeling much better. And thank you for inviting me.
I just thought that, you should have an opportunity of being on my couch. I'm your therapist for today. Because, of course, entrepreneurs cannot afford it. Recently, whenever I tell anyone that, I'm really I feel like I'm so close to burning out. Like, what do I do? They're like, have you tried therapy? Where should I get money for therapy? So let's get right into your journey, Poornima. I want to know the story behind why entrepreneurship, where you come from. So let's start with, where do you come from?
Today, I grew up in a small town. And, when you sort of grow up in a small town, it's very restrictive in retrospect. Like a person you're growing up, you don't know any better. But when you come out, you realize that there are so many opportunity or things that you missed. Yes. Without anybody's fault, of course. For example, of course, when I had more access to media and people outside my town, or my friends and the sisters traveling, or brothers doing crazy stuff outside, or studying outside, then I realized, oh, I have to get out of this town. And the reason for that was because I wanted my freedom. I wanted to do something big, which is not always possible in a smaller town. And of course, I studied in an all-girls school. I studied in a convent school. So it was very weird because I wasn't allowed to attend parties where there were boys. I wasn't allowed to talk to boys. And, I also come from a very traditional family. So, and then I went to a convent school where there were strict teachers and nuns who would can't talk to boys, like this thing will, etc., etc. And it's very, growing up, you almost feel like this gender difference, and you're like, but why? What is it? Yeah. So when I decided to actually step out, I thought my parents were convinced. When I stepped out, I came to Delhi because that was the closest to sort of hometown. Also found opportunities here. Yeah. But honestly, Diksha, I didn't know how to talk to boys. In my first job, when I entered, I was just like, I don't know how to react. Should I shake hands? Should I hug them? Is it okay? How should I approach? So it took me a long time to, figure things out. Yeah. Which in retrospect, could have been, better. But that's how it is. Those kind of experiences have made me who I am today. Yeah. So while I say that it doesn't matter what you're today, it matters.
For sure. I think Yeah, in fact, this is a conversation we've had previously. I think you say that you're an introvert, and the shocking fact is, I think 42 or 43% people in this world are introverts. And when I think about it, I'm like, where are these introverts? Because I think they really put on a mask to interact. And actually, extroverts have a better chance of doing well in a corporate office or in any space, because they have that unfair advantage of reaching out to people. So how does that work out? एक तो I want to know two things, right? One, कि आगरा से दिल्ली क्यों shift हुई? Does it matter what place you are based in terms of ambitions and dreams? And second, you have obviously been in corporates as an introvert. How did that work out? How did you overcome that problem or obstacle, I would say?
So why Agra to Delhi? So actually I had an opportunity to either move to Bombay or Delhi, and I think at that time this is the first time moving out of house and new people. And I think why? Because obviously you have more opportunities in bigger cities. Of course, there were more jobs here and things that you wanted to do. So that move was like easier to make. Now, actually, stepping back on your introverts versus extroverts, I also read a lot about it. Like, like what is it? I think everyone is an introvert and extrovert.
Yeah.
It depends. Like,
What is the dominating side? Yeah.
so it's not like there'll be certain situations where you would, like you said, like you would feel an introvert, and there are certain situations where you'd be like an extrovert, right? For me, also it was the same when I got my first job, and when I used to enter the room like with like lots of people, men, women, doesn't matter. I was very low on confidence. I was more like shy, more than introvert. It was just like these are smarter people. Like they're much more, smart than me. So of course, if they've made a point, they might be right. So I would not challenge them, or I would not put my point of view across, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it has anything to do with introvert versus extroverts, but it's more like being confident. And that, for me, took a long time to reach that level of confidence where I could be more vocal about what I want. But yeah, it did take a sort of a toll on me, but also I chose jobs that were more like, I would not go into sales because I realized that it was like sort of very like aggressive. You have to talk to more people, you have to go out and make more connections. I rather chose marketing, and I was like, fine, I'm on my desk, like working, researching, etc., etc. Right? I don't have to talk to people. I just have to talk to my team.
Yeah.
So I think also then that character, you like choose jobs accordingly.
Yeah.
Right. So you go into thinking that, okay, fine, this is probably not where I need to talk or socialize much. How I overcame it is I was lucky enough. I had both ways. I had great managers. I had bad managers. But I was lucky enough initially in my corporate like life to get great managers.
Yeah.
And both were actually men, and they really realized that I have potential. So they pushed me. They told me to say the right things and ask for what I put my point across. So I think that helped me gain my confidence more and more. So I think it's very, very essential to have
That first boss is very important, I feel. So my first job was Yahoo, and I had really good boss. I had a couple of bosses who were just really mean to me. If that happened, it was a female boss. So that's been the experience. But I think that because Yahoo, I had a good boss, especially in Bombay. He really pushed me for things. Yeah, he just got up. He gave me projects. In my first job, I'm going and I'm working with a very famous stylist, artist, doing scripts and being innovative with how they're doing the shoot. Because he used to trust me. He used to just send me alone, and that's what I try to do now, right? That's where it comes from. I mean, if you have a really perfect first boss, second boss, I think it really defines your one ambition and second leadership style. So that's very interesting. I want to actually take a step back and talk about, so you said you have gone, you went to a convent school, girls' school. And how was that? How does it make you the person you became by the time you were probably 16, 17, right? Before going to college. Here I'm kind of hinting at the education system and, co-ed versus girls' school. मुझे लगता है कि दोनों में pros and cons है.
Of course, I think with me, I have very little memory of school. A lot of people say that they love their school life. I honestly didn't. The reason for that is like I was always a very timid and shy person, and I would always be under somebody's shadow. So I didn't really experience school life the way people do. Because I was shy and quiet, I was bullied. But I didn't even make friends. I remember my first friend, who's still like a very good friend of mine, walked up to me one day because I was having lunch alone. And she just started talking to me, and she decided to have lunch with me every day. And that's how like I made my first friend ever. Wow. So I think more than school, it was the people in school or the girls in school who really helped me like shine. Because I remember like after that, I started making friends. But when I really got confident was in standard, I think 8th or 9th, when I was just like, I was basically a daydreamer. Like I've got a lot of chapade. You're like, I would sit while like doing my homework, and I would just dream, like daydream, right? Like I would not finish my homework, and my mom comes after like 2 hours and like, what the hell, and then chapade. Obviously, right now, somebody, my parents do that at the rate, and it'll be like wrong parenting or whatever. But I think
Toxic parenting.
so, but yeah, we all have got a lot of chapade.
Yeah.
When we were young, and I would realize that that I don't enjoy this. Like I am not learning anything really. On the other hand, like teachers who should understand why a kid is not focusing or why they're not doing well is not because probably they're not good at it, but they need extra help, or they need to figure out like growing up, like does this girl have friends? Like my teachers would call my parents and complain that she doesn't talk to you. Instead of figuring out why, or they have a conversation. Like I feel like at that time, if people have like schools had consultants or therapists, it would have helped a lot. But having said that, I think more than school, it was friends who helped me. When I reached standard 10th, I made another friend who was completely opposite of me. Like she was a sports captain. She used to play all the games, and she was like really, really outgoing. And she sort of also pushed me to be more like vocal and just have more ambitions in life and do more stuff. And that's when I started sort of seeing myself as like someone who can do more things. And I started focusing more on studies. And the reason why I also started focusing more on studies because I had to get out of course, sound. So I was just like, if I have to get grades to be able to get a machine somewhere else, right? So that was my motivation, not because now I don't know if it's the system or the education, but I feel like at that time, like in the 90s, we were in school, it was not like the focus was not so much on the education road versus like you just finish the course and decide you want to take commerce or science, etc. Right? Yeah. Like we didn't even have an arts option. Yeah. Which I think I could have been great at. So while science versus commerce, you take commerce and then you go your way. So that's what happened. And I think that's where the importance of like having friends and girlfriends is really, really crucial. Lived in my own like bubble and shell, and I would not talk about. I was very like, I'm very sensitive and emotional. So when it comes to if I feel something, like it's not easy for me to put into words and share with someone, so I would just like sit and like think. And that made me like a thinker. Yeah, so just about thinking about random stuff. And so I don't know what the right answer to that is. It's not at school or something else, but it was more into
Probably a personality thing. You have a brother as well, right? I'm just curious. Why would you not go to a co-ed where he's going?
Not my choice. My brother went to a co-ed.
Okay.
It didn't have a lot of co-eds.
Okay.
But my father wanted me to have the best education. Yeah. And at that time, it was like one of the best schools for girls.
Yeah.
So did that.
Which makes sense.
I don't think it had anything to do with co-ed.
Yeah.
So that was...
No, that makes sense. How was your relationship with your brother? Because obviously you're the older sibling, right? He's 3-4 years younger. Do you mind sharing that?
I think it's great. Growing up, it was just like how all siblings are. We used to fight with each other. But it was only after a certain time when you had sense, like we both went out to study. Yeah, or he was also in Delhi. That's when we actually became really close and we started sharing stuff. And he used to date girls and like come crying to me, like my hair broken, or I had something to share with him. Then we would share. So that was a very beautiful period because we both were sort of coming on our, like, becoming our own people. And that's when we used to share a lot of stuff with each other. And then it became like normal sibling again, because relationship again, because we got married, then we started living our own lives. So very different lives, very different, work. So, but it's not like, it's a good relationship, I would say. Yeah. Right? When you want to have a heart-to-heart meet. Yeah. And we do have sort of differences that we have a great like conversation and you want. Yeah. So it's not a, yeah, the relation.
When you came to Delhi, then you're saying that you were obviously not used to having guy friends. But does that help to have like a brother as a sister, even if you're going to a girls' school, but you have a brother who you can talk to, who you can share things with? Uska kuch impact nahi aata kya in terms of shaping the way you are and the gender?
I think so, because there's age difference, lives are different. Yeah. I think friendships are very different. They are like sibling really, right? Yeah. I think it didn't help. Of course, there were a lot of his friends who used to come. But they were all like, oh, DDDDDP, like, so it didn't really have the same impact as when I actually came here and first time had interaction with boy, and it was just like, like, how do I do this? Yeah, it doesn't come very naturally. Yeah. Of course, then you sort of get used to it if you find, like, initially also, like, you find work friends, and luckily I did, and I realized that I am actually, I'm better with like boys as friends than like girls as friends. I mean, there's a reason. I honestly have more girlfriends now. Yeah. But then when I was younger, I had more friends who were boys, which is very, very strange, ironic, or whatever it is. Yeah. But I felt like I could be more comfortable with them, while girls around me were judging me constantly. So yeah, I don't think having a brother at that time
helped your relationships with the gender, the opposite gender. Well, that makes sense. And so let's come to that. You came to, in fact, what you said about having guy friends later. Yeah, when I was in school, I only had guy friends because this was a concept that time that लड़कियाँ गॉसिप करती हैं या एक दूसरे के बारे में बिच करती हैं, और ऐसे ही स्कूल में मैं गई थी भाई. वहाँ पे बाथरूम होता था, वहाँ पे ग्रुप्स बनते थे, और फिर सेशन होता था कि अच्छा दिस डे today we will take down this person. So one female poor girl, and you're just fighting with her. And I remember those incidents, and I'm like, wow, that's shocking. And that's why I had more guy friends then. And then while I've done my college and started working, and now I feel like female friendships, I don't know why, was missing from my life, because I enjoy it so much. They feel you, they empathize with what you go through, and that is why we're doing this, because I'm like, okay, now let's take the female friendships to another level. So but that's so weird, right? Like phases by phases, you keep the kind of friendships you make keep changing, and uska jo shape or form hota hai wo bhi change hota hai. So tell me that so you came to college in Delhi. What year was this, and how was it?
8. So 2008 to 2010, I did my MBA, and 2010 is when I started my first job. And worked there for 2.5 years. And that really, really shaped it. It was a very unconventional job. But it was a very hard sort of job. And then I moved to another company, worked there for about like 3 years. And then had a small stint with a startup. And then from there on, like, just went on doing things that I really wanted to explore or figure it out. Like, I was never the kind, I was very, to be honest, like, I was very sure that I want to be successful and I want to be big. But I didn't have that kind of ambition that, oh, like I need to work in this industry and become like, the CXO of this company and just like work, in that sort of. I did have it for a brief moment, but as my life moved forward, it kept changing. Yeah, I was like, okay, fine, this is what I thought I'll do my entire life. But actually, no, this is not probably it. Yeah, not, So I kept moving and exploring things till I figured out what I really wanted to do. So I worked with all kinds of like companies, similar sort of like marketing, brand, PR, explored everything. And so
हाई फाइव ऑन दैट. मैंने भी लाइफ में सभी कुछ कर लिया कि मेरे को सक्सेस चाहिए कैसे भी ले आओ. So when people ask that question कि do you want fame or do you want money, and I'm like, what stupid question is that? So initially I was like, I want fame. So then I was like, चल सब कर लेते हैं, acting, singing, writing, everything. Then I realized that in Bombay, while I was living there, I realized that rich can get you anything. So let's get the money first, forget fame. And I'll buy it, I'll make a production house. And kar lenge. So earlier I used to think that fame is great. Then I thought money is great. And I still think money is great because it can buy you happiness in some way. Like I can afford the therapy then.
Yeah. No, I agree. Money is very important. I realize lots of things, right? And when you say money, it's not like, oh, I want money that I don't know what to. Yeah, of course I still know what to think, but like enough money or financial backing or gives you mental peace to do what you really
agreed.
So I actually think I'm not from that school of thought that money is not an. It is. Yeah. And you can decide how much money makes.
Exactly.
What is extra, but I definitely think it's important.
मुझे याद है कि जब मैं बहुत आर्टिकल्स लिखती थी तो एक बार मैंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा था which was rich people make the best entrepreneurs because they don't have to think bread and butter कहाँ से आएगा. अरे वो नहीं सोचना पड़े तो तुम इनोवेटिव हो जाओ यार, तुम कुछ भी कर लो, तुम हायर कर लो पूरी टीम and they can do the thinking for you, right? But then when you have to think bread, butter, shelter, can your family, I mean, it's like 10x and 100x harder probably to be an entrepreneur. But but that is probably why I think about the money. But tell me, what is your, like with third rows, for example, what is that number that you have in mind? कि यार इतना बना लेंगे उसके बाद मतलब I'm good. Like it could be in lakhs, it can be in crores, whatever. What is that number in your head?
So I think I don't have a definite like number for third rows, but I go step by step. I take it as it goes. I'm like, okay, fine. This month, if we've done this, we have to, in 6 months, I have to achieve this to be able to maybe hire more people. I have like do a little bit of, extra work or take more, orders or scale the business a little bit. This is what we need to do. And then by end of the year, maybe it increases 20%, right? And then in my mind right now, I'm like, oh, for me, it's not like, oh, it's going to be 1,000 crore company in the next 5 years. For me, it's like if I can build a company that can pay me, sustain me, of course, pay my people well, like I can take care of them, they're happy, and also like basically make value for them, then I'm happy. Now that completely depends on what stage the company is at, like where do I see the opportunity, and everything that has happened with Third Rose is by like organically, by chance. It's never been like, oh, this is the plan and I have to achieve this. Of course, I mean, once you decide to do it, then you make the plan, but it's never been like, oh, this is what it is.
That is so interesting that you said that because I think वो जो proof of concept होता है ना, पहले तुम start कर देते हो, अब क्या पता कि third rows पसंद आए नहीं पसंद आए. But actually when it comes to the number, I'm asking, tell me personally, like not for third rows revenue, but tell me personally your bank account. Do you have a number in your mind? Yeah, the day I touch this, I'm good. Then I'll do whatever.
I think I don't need to touch that number.
Yeah.
I know with my even over the years, like my lifestyle has changed a lot. And the reason for that is like I have grown to understand a lot of things about people, animals, environment around me, and what is unnecessary and forces like what really needs to be done. And we all know the crisis we're going through. And so for me, I'm like, okay, fine. If I make maybe 5L today, I'm happy because I can take care of my need. I can donate some money to a charity I really want to. I really believe in girl education, which I still do in whatever small capacity I can do. And I want to be able to do that stuff.
So that is 1 CR in the whole year. It's something that you'll be good with, that now I can do whatever you want to, at least. That's a good number. I also have that. I was like, it should be in the bank account. I'm not talking Yoso account. That's a different story. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to have that number in mind, which kind of, I think, keeps you driven in terms of what you're doing, right? But say more. You can kind of finish.
So I think for me, money is just like an instrument to be able to do things that you really want to do. I want to spend it on like people I want to help, like animal organizations, etc. So for that, yes, like as much as I can make is good. And of course, spend it on people you love. After you spend on your needs. So I think that's very important. For me also, I think travel is really, really important. For me, it's not a luxury. I think for me, it's an experience that you get. And
you'll invest.
I want to, travel the world, eat good food and, experience the culture. That's, for me, is very, very important, like life goal, to be able to do that. So I think for that also, of course, you need money. So those things are important.
More experiences. Tell me, because you said about lifestyle, right? It has changed a lot. Why don't you tell me about your lifestyle pre-Delhi and post-Delhi, and maybe if there's another phase like post-marriage. Tell us about that.
I have grown up in like a full-on Punjabi family. So whether it's basically chola bhaturas every Sunday to like, butter chicken, dal makhani, so all like Punjabi food. And strangely enough, like a lot of people love Punjabi food. I didn't, I didn't enjoy Punjabi food. But when I came out in Delhi, my first year was just going and exploring different like food. I used to eat Bengali food, Mallu food, South Indian, and I explored everything. And that's how I sort of realized that I actually love the flavors. I want to explore more. That's how my journey with food started. But when I met my now husband, Rohit, he's like half Sardi, half Mallu.
Oh, wow. That's a great combination.
He also grew up eating meat. And dairy is a big thing in our like households, right? But when we got married, I think 2 years down the line, something changed because he's a hardcore animal lover. And once he wanted to rant on Facebook about some Chinese dog festival. And while he was writing the comment, he realized that that's so not fair because he eats meat. So, and we had a dog then, like it was our first like dog together. And he's like, how can I rant if I am eating an animal? So it's like, of course, not, fair to do that. So first he decided to quit eating. And then he decided that if he has to say something, he can only raise a voice if he himself is following that, right? So that's his journey of becoming vegan. And when he did that, of course, we had a lot of ups and downs with that also. It was not very smooth that, cold turkey, we leave everything. And while I was also facing some health issues, I realized how being on a plant-based diet has really helped me overcome those health issues. So while our reasons were very different, but we became vegan at the same time. So when we did that, it became easier for us to like explore, food together. And it was, and our Punjabi households couldn't understand what that means, because we would go there and it's like, but you can eat curd, but you can drink milk, but buttermilk क्या problem है? And we had to, like explain it to them that no, and you've grown up eating, butter, ghee, all of that, so suddenly it becomes very hard for the families as well. But I think we came around, and so it changed a lot, and that's when like I struggled to obviously figure out what to make at home. How can you make vegan things at home? And that's when I started cooking. And and it started like that, and changed a lot.
It's so interesting what you said about Rohit, because I think one pet peeve I have in my life is hypocrisy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking.
I can't stand it. The moment I notice it in anyone, it could be my partner, it could be a friend, I get turned off instantly. Kyari, you were just saying that and you're just doing this. How can you be like this? So very good. Kudos to Rohit. Very good. So that's how you guys turned vegan. I know that. But other than that, like Agra mein, in traditional family, the way you lived versus how you started living in Delhi, and versus maybe like minimalism is something that I of course notice it in you. But any major change that happened even in the way you live, the kind of house you have?
I think aesthetically, I always had I always thought that when I build my own house, it has to look a certain way. I like you said, minimalism, but also like lots of greens and love plants and lots of like air and light, and it has to be bright. And so a lot changed. Then I lived in a joint family.
Oh wow!
So I've grown up in a joint family where everyone, like, there's no one person deciding, like everyone decides together. And everyone decides, like there was one kitchen, so everyone decided what has to be made, that everybody has to eat that food, so you can't like can't be difficult about it. I come from a business family. My father runs a business, so his timings are very erratic. Like he starts late, ends late, so he used to eat really late dinner, wait for him to come back and eat. But now when I go back and I'm like, I eat dinner at 7 p.m. I can't wait for you till 10 p.m. And I'm going to go bed at 10 p.m. And they're like, what? It's so that's changed a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like, yes, things change and I have to take care of my health and I have to, think of everything. So that's my life now.
Yeah.
They deal with it.
Have to. What options do I have? Tell me that, so you said you had some health issues, something that you found out like younger?
One, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 1, which turned around, like, because I was chocolate addict. Like, I was basically, I loved chocolate. And when I found that out, I thought that my life was over. I was shattered.
Yeah.
And I think 5, 6, 7 years of just going back and forth with doctors, and that's like another sad thing about like the system, which is just like eat medicine, fix this and all of that. Much later in life, when I came across someone who taught me the simple concept of foodismedicine, is when my life changed. So I had a lot of ups and downs with like health, and that's my reason for that was being plant-based, because it really, really impacted and made me better, helped physically. There was this doctor who actually left his practice to run a farm in Pune and teach people how food can fix everything.
Food is medicine, please. #. No, it is true. I realize that when you eat clean or feel better, all of this, basically it's your system, right? Of course, 70% water, but a lot of food also. And that kind of helps you think a certain way. मेरे को ये तो पता नहीं था. I've never been like this. But for me, workout exercise has always helped, not I'm not able to care about food. But tell me, yeah, at 21, finding out that you're type 1 diabetes, how does it change your life mentally and physically?
I was like, this is something that has happened on my fault. It doesn't happen because I ate too much chocolate. It happened because there's internal changes, issues, immunity, etc. I did realize that when I was in college, like all kids do, I completely ignored eating well, because you're like studying round the clock, you're eating junk, you're not like focusing on, your health. Like my canteen was really far in college, so I would miss meal. And then I would just go home and eat like very little food, not eat food, not hydrate enough. And when I think about it back then, like how I really like screwed up in 2 years, and really like, and that's my like, whenever I get a chance, my mission to go back to colleges and schools and teach children how to eat well, because it's very, very important. And then I realized that how food is like everything, like it's so important. And you'll also realize that mentally and emotionally also it affects you. You might not know it, but like one day eating, and I do it, like it's not like I'm always eating clean, right? So there will be days when I've eaten something and mentally and emotionally I'm cranky that day. So I know that it's not because like that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling that because I put something in my body that's not agreeing with me. So it's very, very important to know that. And at 21, when that happened, I was definitely shattered because for me, I was just thinking I'm not going to be able to eat chocolate. But I went from one junk to like another, satisfy my cravings. Till, like I told you, I realized that actually food is medicine and can fix everything. And that's what got me interested in food, understanding the science behind food. It was only recently during COVID when I had time. So, like most other people, so I studied nutrition course. I wanted to understand more about it and did a lot of research. And that's how I realized that actually you shouldn't tell people not to eat. They will still eat it, right? Yeah. You need to figure out like what they can eat that can also satisfy their craving, but not feel guilty about it later. So that's how I created like desserts, which like everyone can eat every day and not harmful to you.
This is as recent as 2020, na? So you started making stuff at home in 2020, maybe around April. What was that? Why did you start cooking at home? Because things were locked, or is there another? I know that you wanted to also figure things for your husband. That's the amazing partner.
So my husband would sit and be like, I want to eat this. Now, how can I eat, something nice, desserty, but not like crap? And like, okay, we have to figure this out. So I was always like a problem solver. It's like, oh, we have to figure this out. Like, we have to make chocolates that we can eat every day. That's how I created fudge. So I started making like this like really healthy desserts at home. Then one was like, oh, we missed cheese. So what do we do? Is I started making cheese at home. Weaving cheese at home. Then okay, we have to move from like we still need want milk in our coffee. Okay, let's make almond milk at home. So that's how it started. It was just like, oh, like one person has a problem. Let's try to fix it. And yeah, it started from there. Yeah, like so while now he makes very unreasonable requests sometimes, like just create like fake meat at home. And I'm like, calm down.
I'll get that brand. 2020, I also cooked a lot. But thank God. Yeah, but I used to never cook. I was just like, chalo, let's make a game out of it. So every morning I would make something new. I didn't make a company out of it though. So that's that point of view. So tell me how was 2020 like for you? You started cooking this vegan stuff for you, for Rohit. You were also doing jobs. You also became a nutritionist, like a nutrition coach of sorts, right? How did, tell me all about that in terms of you, a multitasker.
So I think, so I come from a business family. I think in my head, I always thought I didn't know when what's going to happen. Like my initial, thought was that my family is into shoes, so I should make shoes. But I wanted to create something like life. They used to do like men's shoes. I wanted to do women like shoes, comfortable, etc., etc. But food has always been a part of my life in some way or the other.
जब तुमने start किया, because I know that you were also doing jobs or consultancy jobs, right? Why would you want to, do these 3 to 5 things at the same time? Where does that thinking come from?
But I was very, very underconfident that I will be able to do it on my own, or I'll be able to scale it, or will I be able to even sell it?
Yeah.
First, it took me a long time to even have the confidence that my products will be liked by people.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, will people actually buy what I make? Like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
It took me a lot to put myself out there. And I was like, it took a lot of courage to even like quit my job and do this, because for me, asking for help is always a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it also comes from the fact that I feel like I'm so independent. Like I've been so independent, I've never asked my parents for anything after I left. I started doing like working and started earning, right? Don't ask. And that's when I realized that I wouldn't be able to ask for money or, like things to, if things have to run. So it was very, very tough for me. So I was just like, I have to make money on the side to be able to run this the way I want to. And not come under the pressure of like, and to be fair, like I've met a lot of investors. I've met a lot of angel investors. I've met a lot of people who also offered to invest money. And I have just met them to understand like how people, like what people think. How do they think? If I tell them that this is my concept, will they understand? Like I don't want my product to have preservatives. It certainly is not going to be in all the stores. In 5 years, not going to become 1,000 crore company. Do they understand that? And, people have come back and they're like, but where do you see it in 5 years? Do you see it 1,000? And I'm like, no, you're not listening. So I didn't want to initially promise people, this is what I'm going to do. And take money and put that pressure on myself to be miserable eventually, or to be miserable later. So I wanted to do it at my own speed, figure out like, okay, do I first make the best products, not compromise on my values? How do I do that? Now I've built it's a small, but a really, good community of people who love the product, who talk about it and would come back, And I think when I think of it, not that I like this word, but I want to build a Cultish brand. Like I want to build a brand where people just love it and it organically and naturally grows. To give you an example, like I really look up to Christina Tosi, who's the founder of Milk Bar. She didn't get VC money till like 10 years. And when it needed my full attention and when it started giving me, some sort of validation, like, okay, fine. Now I'm going to focus 100% on it and do what's best for it.
No, that is awesome. And I think that from this, I have 2 questions for you, right? One, that you have had some really good support from your family and friends and in-laws, right? Which is unheard of. Like people don't. So you've had some angel money from there, maybe capital or in terms of support, and those little things do matter. So I want to understand how that happened, firstly, because it becomes a playbook for females who are trying to do it, and how to ask for help from your family, friends, in-laws, And second is, I want to go back to your traditional family business. And what is it, and why do you not want to be a part of that? Because that's the easier way. Manufacturing leather has a ton load of money if you want it, right? So answer the first question.
Actually, I always suggested my father that I should join his business and maybe bring in now that I've done MBA in marketing, maybe bring in my skill sets to him and help him. He always came back. I think he didn't take me seriously enough. Then also, like my brother said, it's not like a business where a woman should enter. Very ops heavy, like you have to work with like workers every day. There's a lot of operationally also, but there's a lot of like you have to meet people, you have to meet men. that might not be pleasant for you, etc., etc., right? And and it's a B2B business basically, right?
Yeah.
It's a wholesale business, not even like a retail or like brand heavy business. Which I told them I wanted to create a brand out of it.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to work in leather, right? But I told them that I can do like vegan leather or figure out sustainable options, or because you have the expertise, you have the factory, and I need to do it.
Yeah.
I think they never took me seriously, and I was also young, so I never pushed for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I always gave up when they said, okay, like it's not a women-friendly business.
Oh, God.
Right.
In hindsight, you would think that no, that's the thing we are fighting.
Right. And I think that happened. And then I, went on and moved on and went on with my life. But I realized, and I never went back and pushed them for it.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, my brother comes and asks for like my help and my marketing expertise and how to build a brand, etc. But I was just like, dude, I could have done that. But it all worked out, I think, for me, because at that time, I don't now care so much about shoes, care more about food. So it's good only.
But I'm taking a moment to digest this. But good. I mean, I think all's well that ends well. This first question actually was that you have got some angel help, and even like not only capital but in kind as well, right? From your friends and family. Tell me a little bit about that, because I think like I struggle myself asking for angel help also. While I do have founder friends and founder or family that can help, I find it difficult to ask for money or anything. So tell me how has that worked?
Me a lot of courage. I have asked more help from my in-laws than I've asked from my parents. My in-laws have worked all their lives. Say like they used to work with Nestle, one company throughout, and so I think they understand independence and freedom. So, but traditionally also they had this thought in their mind that everyone should just have a stable job, because they come from that school of thought.
Yeah.
And when Rohit did a little, he had a stint with his own startup, and at that time we were dating. They were a little worried about, okay, where's the stability going to come from?
Yeah.
But then he saw like how Rohit learned from his mistakes, and he's doing much better in his corporate job now with the experience he's had with a failed startup. So it's all good. When I started doing it, I think initially, of course, they were also worried about like, okay, where is it going to go? It's such a hard business.
Yeah.
But then when I actually showed a lot of like grit, I was at it, like I'm not going to give up, like I'm going to keep continuing, is when they had so much confidence in me, and they saw that I was really onto something. So they came forward and supported. Yeah. And I'm really, really lucky because having in-laws that supportive is not easy to come by.
Yeah.
And they have not only supported me financially, but emotionally, mentally. I talk to like my dad-in-law every day and tell him how my day, and how's it going? And he listens and all of that. So he's very empathetic and he's very, he's such a good listener. Yeah. So that way, I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
And I have had friends who have supported me. My husband, he's always by my side. So, yes, it's very hard to get by. I think what we fail to do is really ask for help when we really need to. So recently, I remember I had that conversation with my father, and I don't know what came into me, and I was just like, I'm going to just say it out loud. And I told him that, legally I have equal rights in the wealth you own or whatever that you have, right? You have set up your son for success, and I love my brother, but it was almost like, this is how it is. You've set up your son for success. He has everything he needs from you to become what he is today. He doesn't have to think about like paying rent and paying for expenses, etc. How come that same, how come you've never thought about doing the same for me?
Yeah.
And it was great. Like, it was such a relieving moment for me. First, he took it really well. And that's when I realized that actually, I just thought he's angry. Yeah. He's going to say, no, this is not how it works traditionally. He did say, though, it's like traditionally this is what it has been. But traditionally in our families, girls don't get the wealth. And I'm like, but traditions can change. And that's the whole point. You have become so progressive today. Why not change that tradition? Yeah, because this was made by someone else according to their conveniences. You have two kids. Yeah, it should be equally, like divided or whatever. And it was a much deeper conversation. It was not about my business or requiring funds, etc. It was more about like equal right. Yeah, and when I talked to them about it, he took it really well, surprisingly. Yeah, which I imagine a lot of maybe parents won't do. Yeah. But when he took it well, he actually said, I never knew you were going through a tough time. I didn't know that you needed, money for your business. If I had known, I would have helped you. Yes, you are in equal, you have an equal right, etc. I'm going to help you. Just tell me how I can help you. I will help you. And that's when I realized putting a point forward or asking for help is so important. Whether you get it or not, the worst thing you will do is just sure or no, or maybe you, put that in the other person's head, like, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah. But
best is you'll get it.
Yeah. And the best case scenario is what happened with me. Yeah. But I was just like, how come, it was something that parents don't think about. I think traditionally it has been, the norm. And what is surprising is I came back, I spoke to a few friends about it generally to see whether it happens everywhere. And even progressive families think like that. Yeah. So the whole point was like, why does the daughter have to ask for it? Yeah. It's her equal right. He should get it. So which has always been in my mind is just like, this time I went and just got the confidence to speak about it, put my point forward, and they agreed with it, and I was like, maybe they were not thinking ever, because Naya has been the norm. They're actually not thinking. It's not that they're bad people or they don't understand or etc. etc. But
it changed your I think it'll change so much in terms of your equation with your parents, equation with your sibling. Throughout, maybe you would have thought that, oh my God, they don't care about me, or they don't treat me equally as a daughter, which is a norm, right? Like traditional families, they don't celebrate female businesses. They have baby showers, they have wedding celebrations.
You're like, traditionally, like, your mother's jewelry is yours, but the property and the wealth is what the son should have. Yeah. And I think unless you challenge it, and unless you tell them that you're thinking it, the wrong way, you're not going to get yourself forward. It's very, very important. It's similar in all situations. I think even when you're talking to investors or people, partners, I have become very pushy. I was not this person. Like, I would not reply. If somebody's not replied to me, I would not follow up.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, shameless.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to. Maybe the person is busy, whatever. Maybe he'll read it again. She'll read it again. I have to be pushy. Yeah. I don't care, right? And I think that's what entrepreneurship does. Like, when you're running your own business, it makes you like...
Shameless is not a negative word.
Need to keep, obviously, pushing. So that's what it made me. And it was kind of a very enlightening conversation, if I have to say. But I was just proud of the fact that I could tell them that this is what you're doing wrong, and I agreed to it. So, I was very happy. So I'll just tell all the girls out there, just have this conversation. Whatever you're feeling, have the conversation with your parents or partner or whoever. They are not like feeling that you're supported. Just have that conversation and see what.
Ask and be shameless with follow-ups. मैं तो हर ही जगह shameless. Client follow-ups, potential client follow-ups, investment दे दो follow-up. Now Bitchaari guest बन जाओ follow-up. I have graduated. Now PhD, I'll be like shamelessness PhD. but it helps, by the way, if that. But okay, so I think that is awesome, and congratulations for that. Capital for your business is important. I've realized it, because following up with clients to clear invoices is difficult. Is it difficult? वही difficult concept. But tell me a little about Third Roast's journey since the time it was an idea to now. What has been the growth, revenue like? Kab start kiya? Tell me a little about that.
It actually started in 2021. September 2021, when we opened the kitchen and the outlet. And since then, it has been, I would say, like a massive growth. Like we're growing 100% month on month.
Wow.
We increased our, and initially what had happened was I was focusing more on being a D2C brand, and I was focusing more on online. And then I realized the challenges with it. And I was actually in flux for like about 6 months to figure out, the challenges online. There are so many brands who are doing similar stuff.
Yeah.
But also like not only competition, but also like how do I retain my values? Like I don't want to add chemicals to it to increase the shelf life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that kind of a brand who, can be at other outlets.
Or on Shark Tank.
Or on Shark Tank. Yeah. I would love to go there. But, like it doesn't have to be. That's not the only measure of success.
Yeah.
But then I realized that, okay, fine. If I don't want to be on other stores, maybe I need to have my own store.
Yeah.
That's when people can come taste the product, taste the freshness, taste how it's made. It's made by people with love and care.
Yeah.
And try it here, buy it, and yeah. But you can define your own way of distributing it to the customers, right?
Yeah.
It might be slow initially, but it will, grow. So I decided to have my own outlets, and that's when the window started.
Yeah. When was that?
21, and 6 months down the line.
And you started the window already.
That's when I saw massive growth.
Wow.
In the business as well, because I realized that I actually love that kind of a business because you're physically there. You are physically interacting with people. You're building a community. When they see you, they believe in the product more. So I'll give you an example. Like if you're a customer, you go to a certain place and you try the product, meet the person, and you feel more connected. Then when you see the same product online, because you don't know who's selling it. And you don't believe half of the stuff. So the same customer who comes to the window can spend 2,000 rupees versus like the person who go online and would not spend 500 rupees on the same product because like he's or she's bombarded with ads for similar products. Now, that I want to build a physical business where I can interact with the people, I can tell them my story and and that's why the concept of a physical store. I want to have more and more stores. I want to have more, physical presence. So, which is slightly harder than building like an online.
Little more expensive also, probably. Yeah.
But like, I realized that that's what I want to do. And that's how, change goes.
No, that's the point. I think also it's good, right? Ki 6 months within 6 months of starting up, you've also started a window. Because your fact to ye hai na ki in India, I think 20-80% ratio hai. So 20 tum online hote ho and 80% you need presence. Of course, that's going to change. Because in the US, I think it's the ulta, 70% online and 30% offline aisa. But as a brand, you have to be offline if you want to become a brand, at least today in India. So so you're saying that changed a lot for you in terms of revenue and customers, huh?
You have to spend so much money to get customers online.
Correct.
While, you can build a business with an offline community who can later go online and buy as well, which happens right now. A lot of people customers we acquire are through the window to go online and buy the stuff, right? So it's very important that way. And there's no wrong or right way of doing things. It's just like, that's how I thought would be, for me, it's like important to be physically there to make fresh products.
It's fairly new, right? From September 21 to now, 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, 18 months. Tell me, what do the hard days look like in terms of entrepreneurship? You're a solo founder, right? Describe that day for me.
It could be anything. Like when you're working alone, it's just so much. Like sometimes you get overwhelmed. Like I hate account and feel like, like numbers or work. While it's very important to be on it, but sometimes there are days when I have to sit and do that. Like I'm more of a creative person. I love to be in the kitchen, creating, talking to like people. And, but those days are hard. Also like the unnecessary pressure of like, like we live in a world and there are people surrounded by you where like numbers is such a big thing. So which could be, but sometimes it's so hard on you because you're like, this was my target today, sales, and I haven't made that much.
Yeah.
Now I have to do double the next day. How do I do that? How do I do that?
Yeah.
Constantly thinking.
Yeah.
And it becomes like like a pressure on you. So there are days when I'm feeling like, oh my God, is this business even going to work? Is it ever going to like make money? Is it going to expand, etc.? Of course, there are hard days. Some days are just like I don't even know what I'm feeling. Like it's not like one thing.
Yeah.
It could be anything, like there'll be so many things going in your head or nothing going in, but you're still like feeling low and you don't know what to do or what to say. So sometimes it's even hard to share with people because you don't know what you're going through. So it's so on hard days I'm just like, you know what, like either I cook myself a big meal and just eat like good food, or I believe in like crying and dance therapy.
You said you do dance therapy?
Yeah.
And what? When on hard days?
So like I used to cry a lot.
Oh.
But for some reason, these days I even if I feel like crying and screaming, I can't.
Same.
So I'm like, like it's the best therapy if you can just cry it out.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm not able to like even cry. Like I think my tears are dried up or something. I don't know if my tear ducts are even. But it's, so what I do is actually I dance for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And my favorite music.
Mm.
And that's it. Like, or I cook myself a big meal.
Mm.
But it's hard on those days to talk to people because I don't think I don't even know how to explain myself or how to make them understand what I'm going through because I myself don't know.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
But there are lots of hard days.
Yeah.
And because you're alone, when you're in an office, you're working with a team, there's still like, you can share stuff.
Yeah.
You can't when you're running a business all by yourself. You're thinking about 1,000 things. You're thinking about your people.
Yeah.
You're thinking about everything else that comes with it.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility. Like sometimes I'm just like, I hired these people. It's my responsibility to make sure that they
livelihood goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of pressure. Right.
Yeah.
So so I think then I've also realized that hard days are going to become part and parcel of what you've decided to do.
Yeah.
And I think you deal with it the way you want to. And once your business starts making money for you, then you hire a therapist. Talk to a therapist.
Just share your therapist.
Yeah, I do feel like there should be, groups, and these therapies there should be some way of like having access to it without, spending too much. So somebody take.
That is a good idea. Should we start a Bitchaari help group? Comment below. What you said about, hard days mein tum kya karte ho? You're so right in terms of you don't know what you're feeling and you don't know what to tell. I think these days what I do is that I play football, which we should get to. Play football or write, or I've started something called dynamic meditation practice, which is a very cool one. I don't think I'm very okay to talk about it with people as well, because you're like, oh, everything is going well, but don't really know what to do. But football there really helps. And sometimes but while doing all of this, you exhaust yourself sometimes so much mentally, physically, because you're tired. Like you're working all day, then you're doing football, then maybe you're doing some other workout. But yes, workout is always something that I go towards because endorphins. But today I don't know if it helps. But tell me about why the hell have you picked up football at the age of 33? I picked it up at 30. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Are we addicted to pain?
We are definitely addicted to pain. I think it could be a very controversial topic, but why I picked football? Because I randomly went with a friend. Okay, I've never played sports in my life. I really don't enjoy one kind of workout every day. It's really boring for me. So I keep trying stuff. But I never knew. I just went for fun. And then I didn't know from there it started and it became a thing.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we're very regular, and now we're addicted to it, literally, that we go 4-5 times a week. But it's crazy. But that sport has made me feel so alive like nothing else has. I think that's another thing, that when I'm low, a good football like session or game makes all the difference. Yeah. And and you feel good about yourself. And I think the other reason was like I've done things to prove to other people that I can do this because I've been told that you can't. Like I'm driving really late in life when everyone thought that I couldn't drive. I learned it on a friend's car. And my motivation was always to prove people that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it has changed. It's for myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to play football for myself and prove to myself that I can do it.
Wow.
So if I can do this, I can do a lot of other things in my life and a hard sport. And it's great.
It's going great. I can tell you that. We've been committed for 1.5 years, I think now.
So that's like a long commitment.
To something you try for fun, to prove to people. No, that's very interesting. I think we're reaching like the end of the session, and my last question to you would be, and you can then go back to your quote. But what is the big big dream with Third Roast, and what is the ideal world for a female leader or just a female, according to you? Answer that for me.
What is the big dream? I think my big dream is to create value, do what I do best, and create value not only for, of course, for people who work for me or work with me, create value for customers, create value for employees. I would rather have a 20-employee company whose employees are happy than have like a 10,000, employee companies whose employees are miserable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's very, very important that everyone around me is happy. And when I say happy, I mean like they feel valued, they feel respected, they feel they're achieving, getting better day in and day out. And I think that's very, very important to me.
Yeah.
And same for myself. I will probably have that ambition, but I don't want to sacrifice my values doing that.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important for me. And I think that's another way of running a business, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a straight-jacketed approach.
Yeah.
So creating value is very, very important for me. And that's what I want to do. What an ideal world looks like, I think an ideal world looks like for anyone is where their voice is heard, where they can be vocal, where they can put their point across without being judged. And I think just like being confident, having belief in yourself is very, very important. If you can do that and ask, which is what I've lately learned, ask. If you ask, you get it. Worst case, you don't, but at least you know that you've asked.
Yeah. Yes. That is awesome. I think this is the most fun, my favorite segment is that you write an opinion that you would love from the society, but throw it in the dustbin. Okay.
What I've got from the society.
You would, you hear so many things about females, about entrepreneurship, anything from the society that you would love to throw in the dustbin.
Isse nahi hoga, तुमसे nahi hoga. Just ask them to. And when somebody says you can't do it, say you can. If they say it's impossible.
Now you can tear it or you can do whatever you want. And just
Isse hi hoga.
Oof! Well done. Well done. Thank you so much for being on this. I think it's been a crazy learning experience, not only for me, for the team, for all the women in the room. I hope that we can build your 1,000 crore company together in 10 years, even though the idea is to just create happy jobs. I agree. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you guys for being patient with us.
Thank you for landing on the Bitchaari Podcast. We love you like we hate you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us everywhere. And if you've ever been called bitch, bitchari, bossy, naughty, whatever the hell, please comment and share your stories. I would love to read them.